All right, let's go ahead and begin. It's wonderful to see everybody here for our technology educator meeting for February 7th. As I mentioned there a moment ago, if you haven't done so already, make sure that you're checking out the attendance link and the slide deck link that now works in the discussion board there, and you should be able to check out all of our resources for today. Something fun for you over in the I got tired of waiting. If you click on that GIF, it's going to take you over to a different link. I like kind of just sharing things on the side in case everybody gets bored. But this is 102 instructional strategies with examples as an A to Z, which is kind of neat, something fun to look through as you're looking for ideas and things to share back within your districts. All right. So for today, like I mentioned there before, we have our slide deck, we have our attendance. Make sure that you're checking those out. And welcome. My name is Matthew Mays. I'm the Educational Technology Consultant here at the Stark County Educational Service Center, connected to a whole bunch of different networks. That's not a brag, that's just to show you that if you have any questions about any of those products or any others, I'm more than happy to reach out to them on your behalf and try to get some answers or help make those connections for you too. So by all means, please feel free to reach out there. And feel free to follow me or reach out on socials. All right. For today, we have the same four areas for our table of contents. We'll do some setup stuff. We'll breeze through that so that we can get to the group share, which is my favorite part. That will allow all of you to come in and share some cool things that you've seen since we last met in December. We'll do a deep dive, and today that's going to be on information pollution. It's a session that I'm working on for next week's OETC conference. I'll talk about that a little bit more here in just a little bit, but I'll share some things with you there, and then we'll talk about some things that are up and coming. All right. So to get things moving, remember this is a safe space. So whether you are a technology professional or you are just curious about using new technology in your classroom, this is a safe space. So please feel free to ask your questions or share or ask for more clarifications, whatever you need. We are welcome to any and all as a part of these meetings. And our learning intentions, the same as always, we're here to share our best practices with each other. More than anything, we're here to share. So I hope that you all have fun things that you have brought with you. It's much more fun when everybody participates rather than just hear me drone on and on for approximately an hour. So we're here to share. And a part of that fun is I get something from you, you get something from me that builds everybody up rather than just people out searching to fill their own buckets. We are all contributing and working together. And then more than anything, we are here to lead Stark County and beyond. So with that, we will take a peek at our calendar. This is our third meeting for the year. We have one more up and coming in April. That'll be our last one for the year. It's April 10th. And then we'll kind of wrap up things for the year. Okay. All right, from Spark, from Eric and myself, we have some base documents for you. So as we're navigating things around the internet, we come across them, we put them into one of these 4 items. You see your base content areas of ELA, math, social studies, and science with all kinds of really great things. So those are really fun, easy things to share out with people within your district. So make sure that you are sending those out. Okay. All right, group share time. For this month, I have a few things, but I'd really like to hear from you first. So did anyone come to our meeting, or has anyone seen anything fun within the last couple months, couple weeks, whatever, that they think they might want to share here with our group?
Well, I have something.
Yeah, I love that, Laura.
This is more for math. Our district is like putting a push on math and like some different like math games and things like that. So it's called Zearn, ZEARN.org. And our district, like it's in our Clever accounts. So that's kind of how we log into it. But there's all kinds of like digital activities that kids can get on and play. And it's based off of like different areas of math, like different like standards in math is what it's based off of. But it's really, really neat. So yeah, just thought I'd share that. Oh, I can't hear you. Sorry.
We've used Zern. It's good. It's
That
got
would be
it's got.
because I'm muted. Yeah, go ahead, Caitlin.
I was just gonna say we've used it. I don't know if we're using it currently because I don't teach math, but we've used Zern in the past, and it does have a lot of components where kids can redo things because they learn at different speeds and practice and whatnot. I also have something to share if you're.
No, that's fine. Yeah, no, I was done. I haven't like checked it out too much in depth, but I've just gotten into like the kindergarten stuff of it. It looks really neat. So yeah.
Our
Very
teachers,
cool.
This is Kim. Hello.
Hi, Kim.
Our teachers, we adopted a new math series, so we don't use Zern anymore, but we did use it for a number of years, and I know the teachers really, really liked it, and we're disappointed that they don't have access to it now. It went along with their what am I trying to say? Whatever
Like the math series.
their math series, whatever it was prior to what they have now. So we actually don't have access to it anymore.
We used to use it a lot, and the link is still on Clever, so the kids will be like, "Ooh, what's this?" And you're like, I gotta update that. I don't know.
Very cool. Thank you, Laura. Appreciate it.
Sure. Doesn't sound like it's anything new. Sorry, I thought it was something new and exciting, but
no. Well, here's the thing. It's definitely one of the ones that keeps up to date.
Yes, and just because it might not be new to someone in this group, I'm sure someone else who we can all pass it on to, it'll be new to them. So don't worry. This is all wonderful, all good stuff.
Thanks.
Okay, Caitlin, did you have something you wanted to share too?
Yeah, I'm gonna post it in a link in the chat because
Perfect. Thank you.
Bell. One of our speech pathologists told me about this website called Bamboozle. It's got 2 A's in it, and I'm linking a specific game in it so I can describe how it works, because this is a website that's kind of challenging to navigate. It's not perfect, but if I linked you to the game, and if you look in that side square, you press the play button, and then you would press the Bamboozle, and then you would set up a game. And what I've been doing with this is I'm a cart teacher. I teach on a cart, and I teach technology on a cart. So all the kids get their Chromebooks out. We have a lesson. They put their Chromebooks back, and I go. And it has been hard to transition kids. At the beginning of the year, it's hard to start the class, and then it's hard to get them to put the Chromebooks away in a timely manner. This is the incentive. If you put your Chromebooks away in a timely manner, we'll play the game on the smart board together. And for a couple of weeks you can look up dance challenges, movement challenges when they had indoor recess. But I like this one because it's real or fake, and they look at the picture and they have to decide, is it a real food or a fake food? Because you can't believe everything you see on the internet. So you would go up, and I just do the free version. I'm sure there's more incredible like games you could play, but I don't have time for all those games, so free is fine for me. But if you press play, you can set it up, and it kind of creates a grid. And I teach kindergarten and first grade. They love to come up and touch if you have time, or you could just say, tell me which number, and we'll touch the number. And then the teacher walks in, and I'm like, Mrs. Robertson, which number? And she presses it, and she has to pick if it's real or fake. And they have a lot of things like this. I haven't made any of my own, but the thing is, I linked to a specific game because it is hard to find things to like. Like it's not the best designed website. The interface is really confusing. I had to look at it a lot, and I only tried it because I really admire the person who recommended it to me. But yeah, so Snickles, real or fake?
I was just looking at that going, oh man, I don't know about that one. But see, then there are other things
really
like
throws kids off.
Chicken. Exactly. Like that is an actual thing, kid. Sorry.
It's terrible. And I don't know if it doesn't have a label I can read. I don't know for sure. But
yeah.
But there's like the movement.
Don't want to confuse your avocado on a stick for your deodorant. That'd be a real bad day.
No, bad days. Similarly, did I have another one? Did I ever recommend Classroom Screen? I'm going to just type classroomscreen.com.
I was going to say, yeah, it doesn't matter if you have or not. We would love to hear from you about it.
I think that's the link. Okay, it didn't turn into a link in there, but here we go, HTTPS. That is something I actually pay for because, again, being a CART teacher, they have a lot of little widgets you can put on a screen. And one of the things is if you pay for the account, you can have more than 3 name lists, and I teach 20 some classes, so that's worth it to me. But what I've been doing is, I don't know why it started. I actually don't know why this started, but there's a background where it's a picture of a llama, and I put that up in the randomizer widget, and I have their name list in it, and basically the llama is choosing who has to put their Chromebook away first, and the kids they don't argue with the llama. They'll argue with me, but they haven't been arguing with the llama. And, they get laminated. And after you're off the list, you've been eliminated. And it's turning into a thing.
Oh, no.
It's one of those weird things that I don't know why it keeps working. And some of them will be like, I hate the llama. I love the llama. And it's okay. You're allowed to have feelings about the llama because I won't take it personal. It's like a stupid thing that's working.
That's excellent. So Classroom Screen has been one of my big recommendations for people who have been looking for like alternatives to Smart Notebook and all the little doodads that Smart Notebook used to be able to do. So many of those have been built into Classroom Screen, which is awesome. So yeah, definitely a really fun place to go. And like you said, like doesn't matter if someone is getting eliminated or not, which is just a terrible dad joke. We have a dad joke calendar at the office, and it's just brutal, but that would fit right in.
The nominee is, sorry.
So whatever it takes to get the kids excited and to get them doing the things that they should be doing. That's awesome.
And what's interesting is I set up a screen I had a sub today actually, but I can see when I log in, I can see that she moved the widgets around because I had stacked them so that every class would have the widget, so I can tell that she used it, and I hope it was intuitive for her to use. And they have visual timers. They have a lot of widgets. Those are the ones I use the most. You can make groups. It can make you. The visual timer is the other one I use the most, probably.
Nice. That's awesome. Excellent shares. Thank you, Caitlin. How about anyone else on the call have fun things that they would like to share?
I was trying to think of something new for this meeting.
It doesn't have to be new, Kim. It doesn't have to be new, and it doesn't have to be fun. If it's something that's practical and works for you, then that works for us.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, in my building, the teachers have kind of stagnated with technology use. I mean, they're using the same tools over and over. And
it feels like that time of year, too.
Yes. I know a lot of them are using Pear Deck for vocabulary. The kids really love that. If you haven't used the vocabulary portion of Pear Deck, it is still free. And we have new smart boards in our district this year. They have the project. There's no overhead projector. What are those called? I can't think.
Like you have an interactive television?
Yeah, it's they have them on. Kim and I teach in different buildings in the same district. They're like on a TV stand. Like, are yours on wheels? Because it's nice that you can move them around instead of them hanging on the wall, and that turns into the focal point. It's nice that you can move them, which again, as a CART teacher, is both a blessing and a curse. But it's nice that people can do it.
It is nice. And so we have something called Rosie Mosey Academy that's part of these new smart boards. But if you don't have that, if your district doesn't have it, you won't have access to it, I don't believe. But you just touch your screen and you choose filter for your grade level, and it has different math, language arts, fun, quick activities that the students can do at the board. But they can't be pushed out to their computer as far as I know.
Cool.
And we also are focusing on Lumio, which is what Smart Exchange. I don't know if Smart Exchange has completely closed, but now they are Lumio, I think. But the district is promoting that, and I've used it a few times, and some of the teachers are starting to get the hang of it, but it's very much like Pear Deck. You can create your own slideshows, and they have slides that you can insert with different activities that are already pre-made, and you can push it out and have it live at the same time with all the students. And it's interactive and in the moment, which is
very cool. You said Lumio is a smart company. So I think they have morphed into like what you said, like what Smartboard used to be, or Smart Exchange used to be. It just has kind of morphed over the years into that. So very cool. I added all three of those. Caitlin in the chat popped one in there too called Tiny Tap. So I wanted to make sure to include that too. So you have links out there to Tiny Tap and Rosie Mosey and Lumio.
Yeah. I feel like I keep looking for like games that kids can play when they have extra time, because we're not doing things at the same speed. And I keep coming across, like I had a keyboarding game that I tried to send to a kindergarten class this week, and it turned out it was blocked because it worked on my computer, but it was blocked on the kids' computers. And I was like,
that's always a bummer.
It's probably just because the same game engine is used for less appropriate games for school, or it could even be the kind of game that's great for kindergarten, but by the time they're in third grade, they need to block it because they have it open in another tab when they're supposed to be doing something else.
Sure. Do you guys have we always called them like a dummy account, or like a student template account where, you have a shared password or whatever for that, and the teacher can go in and basically see like what the experience is going to be like for a student. Like essentially you could sign in as a student and see, what it is.
I don't
that you're
think we
looking
have that, but I do usually have at least one coworker in the building whose kid is a student, and I ask them if I can use their account as a test, but I don't always think to test everything.
Yeah,
or
that was
sometimes
one of
I
the
log
strategies.
in and I do a screenshot of what it will look like from a student's angle, because like it won't look the same to me on a Mac.
Right. And so that was one of the strategies that we always did, where if I wanted to recommend something, I would sign in as, that student, and we would always check things out or run things through or email that account, just so that way we knew exactly what it was going to look like or how it would perform for a student account, which was really helpful. And then we would always code it as like some silly account name from, a TV character, a movie character or whatever. And so then, that was our shorthand for the year is, hey, can you sign in as, so-and-so and check it out for me. So it was really helpful. Might be something that you could check into. So this is awesome. So many great shares this month. Any others from anyone?
I've got one real quick, Matt.
Hey, Katie.
Playing taxi right now to and from the orthodontist, so I'm going to stay off screen, but our teachers and some of our building principals have really gotten excited lately about Remote for Slides, which allows you to control your Google Slides from your phone really quick and easy. And I don't know that it's new or anything too fun and exciting instructionally, but it's been a sanity situation for some of our teachers.
So is that the Chrome extension that you're using there, Katie?
The Chrome extension. Yep, and it just adds a button to the top of your Google Slides. And when you click it, you get a little pop out from the right side of your screen that gives you a code, like a website to visit on your phone and a code to enter. And then you don't have to be at your computer or at your smart board or whatever to control. You can just do it right from your pocket, basically.
Very cool. You can say, looking at the website here, they or at the Chrome Web Store, they show you kind of the demo is it's like your clicker replacement, which is really neat.
Yeah.
You can say one of the things you'll want to check out if you're going to use it, make sure that this is whitelisted. So you may have to send it to your tech department and say, hey, can you put this on our whitelist? Because you can see like right now on my domain, it's blocked, but I will be sending an email to the person that runs our domain following this call to get that whitelisted, because that's awesome.
It's pretty great. And if you have any speaker notes or anything like that, you can have those show up on your phone. So there's that. And alternatively, if you're in the Canva world, they have something similar that you can use your phone as the clicker as well.
That's awesome. Awesome. Great shares. You guys are awesome. From my neck of the woods, I always put in a whole bunch of things just in case no one has anything to share. We're not going to go into all of them by any means, but I always kind of like throwing it around to some different blogs and some different places that I like to visit. So the first one there is from Class Tech Tips. They are 10 goal setting activities that you can do with kids. I figured, new calendar year, could be new school year, some fun things that you can check out there. From the Keyword, which is Google's blog, they have 6 cybersecurity mistakes that people make. And what I really like about this is that they actually give you suggestions as well. So I'll show you this here real quick. Really nice and easy, digestible for kids to understand too. So, as we're looking for ways to help them understand the changing world around them, especially digitally, this is just a really wonderful place to go. Like I said, it just kind of walks you through all the different pieces and parts, and it's saying the thing that you should be on the lookout for, and then to do this instead, which I think is really helpful. Like I said, as we're talking through this with our kids. Valentine's Day is coming up. They're here from TCEA's blog, which is called Tech Notes. They have 6 Valentine's Day activities for your classroom. I specifically wanted to mention the very first one that they have to share is based on one of my favorite online games. It's called Connections. This is through the New York Times, and basically there are words that are connected in some way, shape, or form. You can see I already played today, so this is a really bad example. But there are words that are in a grid, and then you have to figure out the connection between all of them. Super duper fun. If you haven't played this before, I'm showing you the answers for today. I'm sorry, spoiler alert, but tomorrow it'll be a fresh set of words that you'll have to try to figure out that connection to. And so on the TCEA blog, they have their own version of that, and they made that within Canva. Katie mentioned that. You've heard me mention that a million times, I'm sure, in our meetings. It's like one of my favorite places to go and create. But they have this template here waiting for you to kind of move and adjust. But then they also have the demo for you as well, so that you could like play it and see how that works too. So love that game. Love these ideas. We're always looking for ways to connect to the things that are happening in real life. And there's some really fun ideas here from TCEA, which is one of my favorite blogs. So definitely shout out to them. Other things, Alice Keeler had a really interesting blog post the other day. I'm not sure when the last time was you went into a Google Doc of your own, but I know earlier this week I got hit with a message that was basically saying, you should switch to Pageless. Have you ever thought about that? And so that's basically all the blog post is about there from Alice Keeler. Where are you all at on Pageless Docs? Is that something that you're using at all or talking with the kids about at all? Or is it still print mode?
I don't know what you mean.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, let me hop into one. Give me just 1 second.
Tim, do
So
your kids use Google Docs a lot?
Yes.
And do they print from there, or do they just turn it in online?
Oh, I never have them print. We just do it in Google Classroom.
So this might be for you then. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share this tab. So this is pulling back the curtain a little bit. I'm submitting my stuff for the Google Innovator Academy, which is coming up here. It's in Chicago, I think over the summer, like in July. And so I would really like to be a part of that. So this is what you're looking at here, kind of like a little script of things that I wanted to hit in my video. But essentially, this is just a regular Google Doc, and it follows the normal conventions, right? We see our page break, we roll on to the next one. But the idea here is that Pageless Docs just lets you like scroll into infinity. There are no page breaks. And the idea is that like we're never going to print these things. So why do those page breaks matter? Which is just a really interesting thought. So for products that you know are going to be exclusively online, then you may want to think about going pageless. And so all I did was I went to File, I went to Page Setup, and then the very first thing is Pages or Pageless. And we get this really fun little, and it just kind of walks you through what's going to happen. So the Pageless format basically allows you to have extra wide images, tables, without those interrupted page breaks. So if you wanted to, click Pageless and hit OK, and then it will then become a pageless item, where again, I can just go on into infinity and we'll never run into a page break as a part of this, which I think is pretty cool. So some things that I've seen, not only are people just doing like basic word processing and whatnot, but they're also using these as like website replacements, or like if they're doing flyers for different events, you could have people go here to this page and then, just be like a nice little one sheet where they're getting all that information, kind of just like a nice little workaround. So are any of you using those?
I've not, but I love that. I know like our administrative assistants, they create a newsletter every month, and they're always adding tables, and the page break just messes it up. And they're always asking me to come and fix the table. Why did it not go on to the next page, or but we don't print them. We just share them through our Parent Square. So that'll be helpful. And same thing when we do meeting notes in a collaborative setting with now we can do, I don't know if anybody on my staff knows about it. I never heard of it. So
I just got prompted for it the other day and I was like, I'm not ready for that. And I ignored it.
Yeah, it is very simple and easy to use, very functional, and it's interchangeable. So like you're never locked in time. You can navigate back and forth in that same document over and over again if you want back that, print view, or if you want to go pageless and, change it back and forth. It's, whatever you make of it. So you can set it so that it's just like the default option as well. So every time you start a new Google Doc, it will automatically be pageless, which I think is interesting. The more and more I do that is just for like online purposes only, the more I'm looking into that as my primary thing too. So really fun option for you, for students. And as Kim mentioned, like there are already a whole bunch of really great options that it could be used for. So any others? Can anybody else think of other things that they might want to use it for?
I was thinking of like journal entries, like an online journal even, like for kids who just want to type and type and type, like, teenagers or something like that, but because it's not going to get shared anywhere or printed, just to type things out.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then just easily like keep copying that, title formatting or whatnot too, up and down. Love that. All right. So one last thing for you. This is like conference season. And so coming from EdTech Magazine, which is really CDWG, they shared some of the, just some of the cool things that they saw from the TCEA conference that was held very recently. And so it's just kind of a scatter shot of some like physical hardware, as well as some of the digital tools that were shared that might be eye-catching for you. So wanted to share those with you as well. And hopefully we'll see some of those things at our upcoming local conferences as well. All right. All right, so moving on here, our next section is the Q&A. So we had an unbelievable share. I think that was our best share out yet. Really appreciate all of you. But are there any questions or things, ideas that you want to bounce off of our other friends that are here on the call?
I'm just curious, does everybody, like, what devices is everybody else using? Or does everybody have Chromebooks or iPads or smart boards? What do you have?
So in kindergarten, we have like a set of 5 iPads per classroom that we use like during Panther time or something like that, where I have like a Raz Kids account for each kid so they can get on. And I like Raz Kids because it highlights the text as it's reading, or they can actually read it themselves. And then we also have a class set of Chromebooks that the kids use at our disposal. Like in each classroom, they have a class set of them. So that's just us though.
Yeah, cool.
And some of the Chromebooks are different. Like kindergarten, we're trying to get them moved away. Ours are touchscreen, so we're trying to get them. I mean, not that it has its pros and cons to having a touchscreen, but we're trying to work more on like typing rather than touching, because a lot of kids have access to smartphones and tablets, so we're trying to get them beyond and using like the actual mouse pad versus touching. Because
actually,
go ahead.
Sorry, because I teach it in kindergarten and I also have touchscreens, and because I'm going to send a link in the thing. This is not the actual link I use, but there's this website called Shepherd Software where it's old enough that it, hi baby, that none of this stuff works on touch screens. So sometimes I do this for a lesson where I send it to them and I let them keep touching the touch screen. And I'm like, oh no, it's old. It will only work with the trackpad. Let's practice using the trackpad. So sometimes when you find a website that doesn't work because it doesn't work on the touch screen, you can kind of use that. I'm trying to find the specific, there's something called the color game that I start with because where it's in here somewhere. But I started with that because the art teacher recommended to me that knowing the art, we share the same kids, especially the ones in special ed, sometimes I overestimate their abilities, or I just don't have a good sense of their abilities in regards to tech because they use talkers. So they like, I tend to think they can do better because the things they like to do are the things they have to do a lot. They do really well, but sometimes they don't try other things. But she recommended starting with color matching because from her experience, all of the kids in our school can do that pretty effectively. But there's things that are like cute and fun here that make it worth it to try. Similarly, like there's, I think in the brain area, but the thing is there are some ads. I'm not in love with the ads, but like some of the games in the fun game section, it forces them to use the 4 arrow keys instead of being able to use the touch screen. There's some Wildcrats games on like pbs.org that do that too, but I don't know those games very well because they're more involved. And I'm like, no, if you can do that for yourself, you got to figure it out on your own. But like, yeah, sometimes I do want them to move away from the touch screen a little bit, and you can and for typing, we've been using typingclub.com, which I like because the Jungle Junior lets you do it in alphabetical order rather than home row first, which makes more sense in 5-year-old heads. They worked hard on that alphabet and they want to use it. I don't start it until January, until most of the kids know at least the first few letters, because otherwise you're going to frustrate them. And then do you have Go Guardian?
I'm not familiar with that one.
Go Guardian it would be a district level tool. It lets us look at our kids' screens, but what I'll do with the kids is I will turn on the chat function even in the classroom, and they are motivated to try and type me a message.
That's cool.
And then I can use it for first grade to assess, can they type a whole sentence, and then I can coach them towards, oh, you wrote a sentence, but let me show you how to do a capital letter, or let me show you how to do a period. Your sentence needs a period. I haven't done that quite yet this year. It's been a little bit much, but those are things I've done in the past because I know that struggle. I do prefer touchscreen devices because they are intuitive for the kids, but you're right. They need to learn how to use other parts.
Right.
If you have Chromebooks. Otherwise, they might as well be on iPads.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong. Like I think there's a time and place for each of them, like they have their own purpose. But during tech time, like when we're doing tech lessons, my tech person is usually like, she's trying to get them away from the touch more, and getting them exposed to typing and learning where the letters are, and how to find them. So
I found the color game. I linked that one specifically. Oh, cool. There's another version of it. And I will usually use that. And it will also, honestly, it will help me figure out if they're trackpads, if they're struggling with it. I'm like, shoot, maybe I need to check your Chromebook and troubleshoot. Because I tell the kids they have to do typing to help me know if their keyboard works, because the kindergarten gets our hand-me-downs from 8th grade. So I'm like, it's not your fault if it's not working. It was probably an 8th grader. I am always nagging these 8th graders to the kindergartners. They're gonna, that's gonna come back on me in several years. Anyway,
when your first kindergartner becomes an 8th grader, they're gonna have like PTSD of all the things that they're like, oh no, my life is gonna turn upside down because now I'm one of those 8th graders.
Well, I coach the middle school speech and debate team, and right now it's 4 8th graders, and if they find out, like, if the kids at kindergarten find out I am also hanging with 8th graders, they're gonna be like, but you told us they were the worst. Why are you doing that? They're also the best. Middle schoolers, guys, they're wild. Even when they're really good.
Yes, that's my tribe.
You are built different.
Those are my people. It's a new personality every single day. Just the wildest mood swings, and you just love them through all of it. It's the best.
I saw a friendship almost end over Taylor Swift. It was dramatic.
So this is so delightful. So many wonderful things were shared just as a part of that conversation. One thing that I do want to make mention of, Caitlin mentioned the ads that may pop up. That's one of our big pushes here recently, is like student data privacy and some of the things that may or may not be popping up on websites and making sure we're keeping our kids safe. And so that is definitely something to look at and to, make sure that we're doing that for our students before we have them try those things out. But yes, absolutely wonderful things that were shared there. Kim, just from my perspective, devices that are out there, almost exclusively all of our area students are on Chromebooks. It is a wide array of the Chromebooks that are out there. And more than anything, it's just kind of like what was the deal at the time, or what was most advantageous for us. The newer devices are going to have that longer end of life date too, which is basically how Google refers to their support. Whereas before it was basically like you're lucky to get 4 years out of a device before they stop supporting, and they have extended that out to I think 8 years, if I'm not mistaken, which is really nice. Definitely more budget friendly for our districts. As far as like teacher devices go, it also runs the gambit. It just kind of depends on what the teachers in the district are accustomed to doing or would like to do, especially as you look at like the tasks that they are being asked to perform. So certain things, like you actually have to have a program to run it for certain classes. So I'm thinking like CCP kind of type stuff.
Yeah.
And so like you may have to actually have a physical like laptop to be able to execute the thing. But for most teachers who are probably doing things that are almost exclusively web-based, a Chromebook can do almost all of those things. So buying a nice Chromebook for a teacher should fit the bill. So yeah, kind of a little bit all over the place. But like I said, I know that for most districts, it's really just what's available and what is most cost friendly, because the budgetary concerns are definitely out there.
Well, I also was thinking about it because our high school is strictly iPads, and I have an issue with that, but people have differing opinions about that use, going back to the little ones in kindergarten using the keypad or the keyboard and instead of the touch screen. I mean, people can go back and forth. There's the argument that why are we even teaching them how to type, because
their hands aren't done growing yet.
Touch screen anyway, and
right.
You can use your voice, and when you text, you're not using home row or the keyboard, but I mean, you do have to know where the letters are.
So not even to mention that AI is going to be writing all their things.
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about that.
I think it's important, but
it's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, it's a whole other conversation.
Right.
Yeah. You saw Andy just pop in here a moment ago. He can't stay away, but like as soon as he sees a phone, he's like 1.5 almost on the dot. And so he grabs the thing, and the first thing he does is whoop, and he swipes. He doesn't know what he's doing. He just sees people doing that and goes, oh, that's a thing that I do on this. And so, it's a lot of that learned behavior too.
You
where
see
our
videos
kids
where babies are talking on the phone and it's not even on.
Yes.
I do love it. Those are cute though.
They're really cute, but they're terrifying, because we try to do our best where like our kids aren't watching TV and they're not on devices. And when we're with them, we try to be as present as we can possibly be and not on our devices. And yet he's still 1.5 and grabs a thing and goes, whoop, and he has a little toy phone in the other room, and he is talking to, his family and, saying the names of the family members that he knows how to say. And it's, funny and adorable and terrifying all at the same time. But this isn't Parenting Corner. This is Ask a Question.
Well, and kind of relatedly, I do see this come up on social media where people will, every now and then, somebody will make a post or a tweet about like, it feels like nobody, because of Chromebooks and iPads and that kind of technology, no one knows how to search for a file on their hard drive anymore and things like that. Things that were big in the night, like that you needed to know how to navigate your device. But now if it's web-based or if it's apps-based, you're not doing that as much. And it's the kind of thing where sometimes I wonder, do we really need to know that to use the device? But at the same time, it does help to know how the device works. I don't know. I've had I teach kindergarten, but I've had arguments with college professors about stupid stuff. Like they get mad that their students and 18, 19-year-olds don't know how to email them like a document. They're like, can I share it on Google Drive? And I'm like, if you want them to know, sometimes you have to explicitly teach. I don't know.
It's
Right.
just it's kind of frustrating because I'm expected to teach typing, and I do. And with the second graders right now, we've been working on the home row, and the intermediate school, which is in our district, it's fourth and fifth. They're always saying these kids can't type, and so we're working hard on having them type. And then they go to the high school and they have iPads, and the kids are using, like texting. They're just typing their papers on their phones a lot of times.
The high school speech and debate, because I've been working with them too. They got Google Docs on their phone and they're doing this, and I'm like, you wrote a new intro for your speech? Okay.
My youngest typed his papers on his phone because his iPad, he said, was too slow.
I feel like you and I are overdue for a chit chat.
I know. Anyway, this is something that I'm
glad I'm not the only one who's having some.
Change the subject.
See, but think of how easy that is, though, to pull up a Google Doc and to hit the little microphone button on your keyboard and just talk it through. That is a feature that has been available to us in Google Docs, like as we're using our Chromebooks, as we're using our laptops, but it's just so much more functional and so much more the habit when you have the phone, because that's what we've been accustomed to doing. And so, like, I think universally we can all talk faster than what we can type. And so being able to knock something out like that and then give it a quick once over for punctuation is much faster and much more efficient for a lot of our kids. So yeah.
And I think sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead, Laura.
I was gonna say, I think too, for kids who have who struggle with spelling and like grammar, I think that would be a great a great thing to use for them to use, because then it's almost like an accommodation that they would have, you know what I mean? Whereas now I don't have to focus on spelling it. It's just, does it sound right? And then going back through, I could see that from like a kindergarten standpoint, but I understand at the high school level, that's probably a struggle. You know what I mean? Like it's not the best scenario, but it's a kindergarten level. I could see that really being beneficial for some kids.
I'm saying it's a nice equalizer too, as we're looking at, equity and, evaluating the things that, or making sure that we're evaluating the actual thing and not the other, things that may not matter. So are you assessing that student on whether or not they know the answer, or are you assessing that student on, are they spelling a certain word correctly, or can they punctuate a sentence? Like, those are two totally different things. So that was, something that I always struggled with. And then when I went through the administrative pathway stuff later on in my career, I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. Yes, that's exactly how a rubric should be, structured. And you should devalue the points here, because I don't care so much about that. I just want them to tell me about this. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You guys are awesome. I don't know if you see the emoji thingies at the bottom, but I'm going to shoot some claps out too. You should see those come across your screen. Those are a fun new thing to add into your Google Meets too. So this is great. Are there any other questions or things that we might want to hit before we bounce into our deep dive? And I'll keep that part brief, because I know we're sneaking up on 5 o'clock here. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into that deep dive then. I feel like I've already gotten so much out of this, so this has just been a wonderful call. So I really appreciate all of you being on here. To fill your own bucket a little bit, I will share some of a presentation that I've been working really hard on here these last couple weeks. Basically, this came out of a zag. So when everyone was zigging to AI, and believe me, I've done more presentations in districts this year because of AI than anything. And so I'm very grateful that has been a thing, and I enjoy using it. But that seems like the only conversation we're having right now in education is how can we use AI, and what should we be doing with AI? And so I try to take a step back and say, like, you know, if everyone is talking about this, what's that underlying thing that we're not talking about that we should be? And for me, it's really information pollution and how easy it's going to be to fabricate information here, not just this year, which we all know is an election year. And so that was kind of my red flag moment. It was like, oh, things are going to go bonkers here, at least for the next 12 months or 11 months until we get through to November. It's going to be nuts, and we're going to see some crazy things appear online that we're not going to be quite too sure, is that real or is that not real? And so I wanted to kind of take some time to put that into a presentation just so that we can get our kids thinking about it. So what is information pollution? This is the official definition. What I want to do is shift the conversation away from fake news, okay? What we've seen is that term, or the combination of words fake news, has become politically charged, right? And so we have to devalue that political side of this conversation and just really talk about, you know, the amount of information that is coming at us. And that's really where information pollution comes from. It's not just the fact that, yes, there are things that are fabricated that could be coming our way, but it's also just the sheer amount of stuff, right? As you're looking across socials, as you're looking at, you know, the news, as you're thinking about, God forbid, TikTok, all these places that are around, information is just constantly inundating our eyeballs and our ears. And as much as I love it, I listen to my podcast on 2 times speed. And sometimes I sit back and think, like, these normal conversations sound so weird to me because, you know, I'm so accustomed to listening at things cranked up at 2 times. Like, this is boring. And now what do I do? And my mind starts to wander, and it's just this cloud. That's why I wanted to share this image, which is one that I used AI to generate for me, or to help me generate. But that's how it feels sometimes, right? We see all of this information coming at us, and it creates kind of that brain fog. So I want you to kind of have information pollution in your mind, rather than, like I said, that supercharged version of the fake news wave. Okay. But really, this is not a new concept. This isn't something that we've seen because of AI or you know, social media. This is a thing that's been around for a really long time. Can any of you think of examples that we've seen in our lifetimes that might be considered information pollution? There's one on the screen. This is proper wait time.
Tabloid magazines.
Thank you. Well done, Caitlin. I don't know where you.
I remember Bat Boy. What was that one? What was that magazine?
The where the kid was actually a bat.
Yeah.
Yes.
You always saw him in the grocery checkout. Your mom would never let you buy it.
No, never. Was it National Enquirer?
That might be it. That might be
Yes.
it. It was like, and it was like Bigfoot discovered with Elvis at a motel in Reno and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Stuff you kind of wanted to be true a little bit.
There's something to be said for that.
Well, that's the thing is, have you ever seen that Pacific Northwest Octopus website?
I think so, but please go ahead and.
I was just going to say, when I taught up to 5th grade and I had older students, my issue would be that they wanted it to be true. Mm-hmm. When you want something to be true, you want to believe that when somebody tells you, and that can be a challenge to get kids to let go of that, and adults.
Absolutely. So what we're seeing, or what we see through studies, is that, like, yes, this is not a new and novel concept, and most of the information pollution that we see coming through has some element of truth to it, right? We see these magazine covers, you know, that are shared here, that are in the checkout aisle of our grocery stores. And there's an element where you feel like Brad and Jen are your friends, and you want to check in and see how their relationship is doing. And I saw Tom Cruise jump on the couch, and so I want to hear more about this Scientology thing he's, you know, talking about. And so we like supercharge certain words in order to get people to do the things that we want them to. So as we're looking at things like tabloid magazines, you know, I also think of like carnival sideshows, right? It's not, you know, come see the normal person who can jump rope. it's come see Monkey Man and the Bearded Lady, and they're going to be walking across a pool full of sharks, right? It's these like fantastical things that draw people's attention and that pull them in rather than just the boring and the mundane. So I put a couple other things into the speaker notes area. There is this really interesting case, like all the way back into like ancient Rome, where they had these people, they're panegyrists, or panegyrists, sorry. I had to ask it how I was supposed to pronounce that one so I would remember it. But basically, these were like ancient Roman hype man, right? So they would go in and be like, oh my gosh, have you heard about, you know, Matt? He's the greatest, and he knows all of this stuff about this topic, and he would be a wonderful person to lead us. Or you need to go to his discussions and hear him speak because he's the man. You know who's not the man? Brad Pitt. That guy stinks. And they would start to spread this misinformation all the way back in, like I said, in the ancient Roman times. We have seen this more often than not in terms of like battles and in war too. So as you're looking at that speaker notes area, there's a link out to this whole concept of remember the Maine. It was this battle cry that is completely like false and made up, but it rallied a whole bunch of people to kind of jump into either the real or you know, thought processes of that Spanish-American War. So just really interesting how these things have shifted and have changed throughout time. And like I said, it's just kind of interesting to see how this has taken shape as we look at the area of the internet age. And so there is a book that I've been really digging into since the summertime. We went to a conference in July and it was excellent. They had a whole bunch of books to buy, and so I made it rain in the book area and went ahead and purchased this one. So I have all of the important information for you in those speaker notes if you wanted to check it out yourself. It's called Fighting Fake News, Teaching Students to Identify and Interrogate Information Pollution. And so this was one of the really important quotes I think that stuck out to me. But as we think about you know, the things that we're seeing on socials, and we're seeing the things that our kids might be saying or having conversations about, it really comes down to all of our like inherent biases that we're bringing to the table. And so every time that we, you know, push for something or we put something out and we're searching for those likes or we're searching for those retweets, and we continue to share all of these things online, it really breaks down the fabric of what it is that makes us humans, right? So even things that we may, you know, totally agree on, now all of a sudden there's this dividing line where because you think that, now all of a sudden my red flags are up that, you know, even if you think this, there's no way you could think logically about that, right? And we're seeing this division across people. And so as we think about those, we're really thinking about how people can be controlled and can be manipulated by this information pollution that's put out there. So here are a couple of big takeaways that I pulled from this text. And as we look at biases and information pollution, the first and I think most important thing that's out there is we are all, every single person who has ever been born onto this planet Earth, we are all susceptible to misinformation and information pollution, right? This is not a new or novel concept. It's been here since the beginning of time. Okay, second, the information often grows out of a kernel of truth. And this is something that Caitlin had mentioned there a moment ago. You know, we take something that could be true or has some sort of truth to it, and we blow it up and expand it into, you know, these fantastical stories of misinformation. And then third, and this is, I think, is where we can really help our students, is that our default position, our default mode should always be of curiosity, right? Thinking those things like, well, why am I reading this? Or why am I seeing this? Who is the author of this thing? Why do they want me to think this thing? You know, there's always some sort of spin to all of the things that are being shared with us. So trying to be curious about that spin or be curious about the things that are being shared with us should always be front of mind for us. Okay, and so why do we believe all of these things? Yes, we can see that certain things are fake. As much as I want to believe in Sasquatch or Bigfoot, I'm not sure that, you know, such a thing actually exists, but I want it to be true, right? Why do we have these, why do we have these feelings? So, our brains are wired to look for these things, right? So this is all part of like cognitive biases that we are born with, right? These are these pre-existing commitments to things, or we're connecting with things, and it's just a way that our brain is wired. Okay, we also have an inherent desire for in-grouping, right? We are social beings. We want to connect with other people. So when we hear things, we try to make that connection with them. We also see a rise in information pollution when there's uncertainty around things. And I don't know about you, but it sure seems like people are uncertain about a whole lot of things at the moment, as we're looking culturally and in life in general. And so we're starting to see more and more of these, you know, things that may or may not be true come out into the public discourse because there is so much uncertainty. People are searching for answers. They want something to be true. And if they can't find it, then they are very happy to scapegoat or to push the blame onto other people who don't think the same as them. Again, causing greater and greater divide amongst everybody. And then what we're really looking at in many of these instances too, is our influence from like close confidants or friends or family, right? We're creating these echo chambers where, you know, I can't be friends with that person. I can only be friends with these people because they think like me, they act like me, they have my same background. And now all of a sudden we are all thinking the same thing. We're all thinking that's, you know, doing the same thing, and there's no parity. So definitely complicates matters quite a bit. And so what I'm advocating for is that we teach our students more about critical reading. So we have to teach our students specifically how to read online, and not so much, but let me backtrack. We have to teach our students how to read online, because so much of the information that they're seeing is online. Yes, it's important that we're reading from books and actual hard copies of things. However, reading in a real setting where I have this physical book where it is literally in print, and there aren't all these doodads on the side of my screen and things that I can click and hyperlinks and, you know, all these pictures that are flooding my eyeballs and ads and every other thing that's happening. This is a, you know, moment in time. This is, I'm seeing this thing in print. And so actually having the conversation with kids in terms of like, what is it like to read online? What do these things mean? The information that's over in the sidebar, what is that there for, right? Who is trying to put their spin on this? And so I wanted to include these 4 questions for you as you're looking at critical reading for students. Who constructed this text and why? Do I want to go along with them? Do I win or lose by going along with them? And who else wins or loses, right? So this really gets to our conversation on spin, right? All of the information that's out there, whether that's in hard copy or whether that's online, is somebody trying to get you to think something about a certain topic. And so the more that we can help our students to understand that and understand that narrative, we can then understand, you know, that spin or who is trying to manipulate us to do certain things. So I wanted to bring up this image for you, or these 2 images for you. This is LeBron James. If you don't know LeBron James, he is really good at basketball. There are 2 different narratives that we can pull from these images, right? The one on the left, we see him flexing, right? The one on the right, we see him, you know, with his arms extended. And so really what this boils down to is, this is the same basketball player. This arguably, it's not, but it arguably could be the same exact basketball game, right? But this is 2 competing narratives about the same exact person doing the same exact thing. So this is a basketball player. He is playing basketball, but depending on the picture and depending the spin, or depending on like your home, you know, or your inherent biases and where you are a fan and where you are not a fan, you're going to see some different spin be put onto, again, this same person who's doing this activity of playing basketball. So the one on the left definitely makes us see like, oh, this is a person that is good at basketball. he is very strong. I can see that, you know, this looks like a really confident person. Whereas the one on the right, I see it kind of looks like he's complaining. You know, I could put the narrative out there that, you know, if it hits the spin cycle, that look, it's LeBron complaining again. He's trying to get calls. Michael Jordan would never do such a thing. Michael Jordan is way better than LeBron James. I'm not here to have that argument, because I think there's room for everybody. However, depending on the spin that we wanted to put on this, it's so easy to create these narratives. And so helping our students to understand and see those things is really what's going to separate them from all of the other mindless drones that it seems like our society is creating. So we had the conversation about AI earlier today and in previous meetings, but one of the really interesting things that has come about is generative fill. And so these are two pretty common memes, right? That's that like little yellow area. Those are the memed images that have been sent out and shared online. So we see the little girl with the fire in the background. It's one of my favorites. And then we see the couple where, you know, they're obviously facing opposite sides. But what's important here is that the image that was shared is literally just that yellow box area. Using AI and this new, it's not a new tool, but a new skill that AI can do for us, we can ask it to expand upon images, right? We are creating things that are not actually there. So what was done, and there's a link here in the speaker notes area for you. What was done was they took these memes, they put them into image generators. So, you know, you can do this in Canva. You can do this on like the Adobe Suite products too. You give them an image, you say generative fill, which basically means I want you to take this image and I want you to expand on it. So tell me, you know, what's above it, what's below it, what's to the sides. And then the AI sees that image and then creates what could potentially be above and below to construct, you know, this photographic narrative. So you can see some of the kind of like breaks in AI here and things that, like, as of right now, are visual cues. So I'm looking at the couple that is laying in the bed. If you look up above the woman's head, you can see like the pattern is kind of cockeyed, right? It's off to the side and there's not a line underneath where there should be one. So that at least is like a visual marker, like, oh, something's not right here. I bet this is AI, right? But the one on the left, oh, it's pretty legit. It actually looks like this little girl is standing there. Her t-shirt's pretty legit. You know, we see the smoke and the fire, and there's a house that, you know, appears to have burnt down in the background. That image is pretty good. I'm here to tell you that this kind of thing, this generative fill, is only going to become better and better and better. So it's almost as if AI is like supercharging like what we would traditionally call like photoshopping, like, oh, I'm going to Photoshop this image. AI has skyrocketed that thing, you know, leaps and bounds above what photoshopping could potentially do. So the more that the AI tools that are out there become available, the more and more we're going to see images put out into the real world that are not real and that have been manipulated. It's easy for us to have this conversation because we're adults and we understand that this is a thing that's occurring, but it's a wild concept as you're talking with your students to try and have them wrap their minds around. So one of the big places that I want to share with you is All Sides. As we're looking at like the political discourse and just news in general, All Sides has been my go-to. It's one of my bookmarked tabs that I open every single day just to kind of get a flavor for what's going on. Essentially what All Sides will do for you is it poses a, and then it gives you the spin. So it will tell you what's occurring on the left side of the aisle, on the right side of the aisle, and then something straight down the middle too. So I'm gonna jump out here, and while I do wanna mention All Sides was on the Learn 21's like scary apps list for October. That was mostly having like, if you are creating an account, then they would like track you through some different things as a part of their privacy policy. I do not have an account. You do not need as a part of this. So you're in the clear here as long as it's something that you're not registering for. But basically what it does, like I mentioned there before, it gives you a topic here. So it says House Republicans divisions in focus after string of failures. And then it gives you that spin. So it's saying, hey, from the left, this is kind of what the message is saying. From the center of the aisle, this is what the message is saying. And from the right, this is the flavor of what's going on there. And so you're seeing all sides, hence the name, of a singular argument, where it's not just a slant coming at you every single time. It is, all the political, all the news discourse around a given topic or around an idea. And so as you make your way down the page here, then you're starting to just see like some of the bigger headlines from, those left-leaning publications, headlines from, the center, headlines from the right as well. And so even if that was the only thing that was being shared here about all sides, I'd be pretty stoked. I think it's a pretty cool website. Like I said, it's basically where I try to get all of my news. I want to know what is being said, from all spins essentially. But there are some really great tools in here for you as the educator that you can share with your students as well. So I wanted to link out to these for you. That's what all the little link chains are for. And when you select it, it's going to take you to the specific side or the specific page within all sites that kind of discusses that tool. And so this first one here is how to spot 16 types of media bias. It's a really wonderful little page. And then it talks about all of the different biases that could be put out. This is a great resource as we're talking with our students about things that they may be seeing. Again, we're teaching them that digital reading language, right? They even provide us with some of the words or some of the vocabulary that we want to be searching for. So makes it just a really, really helpful tool, a nice way to see, how we are being manipulated or the things that are being shared with us. The other thing that I think is really eye-opening, not just for students, but for everyone online, is this media bias chart. And this is something that they revisit very frequently. They try to create, the best picture that they possibly can. But in order for this all to finish or all to fit on my screen, I'm going to scroll down a little bit so we miss the title. Basically what they do is they ask all the readers, they ask their team of experts, basically at this moment in time, where are we seeing the major publications? How do they fall? So we see hard left, we see, center left, we see strictly in the center, center right, and then hard right, and they kind of organize them that way. Now, that's not to say that, a left-leaning article can't appear in one of the publications on the right or vice versa. It's just saying, for the most part, this is the spin that we are currently seeing at this moment in time. And you can see here too that this is like it's in version 9.2, which is cool. So it's not just this frozen thing. It is a living and breathing chart that they frequently make these updates to. Some other things that I want you to see, this all stances area is really interesting. Basically, it takes a larger topic or a larger idea or the way that people are raised even in certain things, and it just kind of throws it out there. So this one here, should the US reform its voting methods? Not necessarily something that is like in the current zeitgeist or is currently being talked about, but if you are interested in learning more, then you could come here and then you could learn about what people are saying on that argument. So for this example, should the US reform its voting methods, I can see all of the different talking points. And then if I click on it, it will show me those arguments. So if a person were to say, keep our current system of plurality voting, the core argument is this, and then here is their supporting evidence. So really, as you're trying to construct your own belief system, which is essentially what our students are doing, even our fun little middle schoolers are all trying to figure things out. This is a really interesting place to try and learn more and to try and enhance your own beliefs or understand your own beliefs in a different way. And specifically for this session here, I wanted to link you out to a page that talks all about misinformation. And so these are some things that that they've put together to help you understand and contextualize misinformation, right? That information pollution. So how can we spot information? What about facts and fact checking, right? How important is that? Where can I find some other things for misinformation? And then it provides, some of those important things that you can dig into and learn a little bit more too. So as I mentioned, all sides, just banner website. There's so many important tools that are shared on there that really you can dig into for a really long time. There's even a specific page, if you look up across the top, it says schools, and it provides a whole bunch of resources specifically for schools. So it talks about, what it's like to have a respectful dialogue and to get this balanced news feed. And if you're interested in the media bias chart poster, you can get that too, as well as all kinds of other things. Again, this is free to you. I would say there's no real need to have an account on here. It's just a place that you can go and check out the news, check out the conversations that are happening around there too. Okay. As you're thinking about all sides, I realized a slide in here that I wanted to include that I either moved or I got rid of or something. But essentially, this is what I'm going to be talking about at OETC. So if you would like to hear more, I'm going to chop it at that for our presentation for today. But if you would like to learn more, this is at 8 a.m. next Wednesday in Columbus at OETC. Bright and early, I'll be talking about this and all kinds of other really nerdy things. So would love to see you there as a part of that conversation too. Okay. I am going to take just a beat here to look down because I know I created it. I just don't know where it went because I had all of my upcoming sessions on there too at OETC. So I don't know what I did with it, but it's gone. So we won't worry about that. Just know at next week's OETC conference, which I'll jump ahead here too, I have 3 different sessions going. So if you will be there, they are all on Valentine's Day on February 14th at 8, at 9 o'clock or 9:15 is the Leading for Learning, like in-person meetup, which will be really fun. You're all welcome to that. And then at 3:30, I'll be talking about digital tools for visible learning, which will be really fun too. So lots of good stuff. To jump forward, or I guess to jump back here before we continue, does anyone have any comments, thoughts as we're thinking about misinformation, trying to put a bow on our information pollution conversation?
I just really appreciate that website because I'm always looking for unbiased sources. It's so frustrating to not feel like you can trust what you see on TV, what you read. And so if I feel that way, imagine our students. They don't have any, they believe what they read, they believe what they see. And unfortunately, now more than ever, we can't. And that is terrifying to me. It's just frustrating.
Yeah.
So
So I do want to speak to one thing that you had mentioned. It in itself is not necessarily unbiased, and they will tell you that as well. It's just posing a platform where all sides, hence the name, all
Gotcha.
sides are being shared. So you will very much see this is the spin from the left, this is the spin from the right. But it's up to your interpretation then to basically see how things are being shared. Yep. Any other thoughts about misinformation? Am I reading the room incorrectly? Is this a thing that that our students should know? I like to think so. I hope so. I think it's an important conversation for not just us as adults to hear, but also for our kids as they're trying to interpret all of these weird and crazy things that are happening around them in their world. Okay. All right. So let's put a bow on this meeting. We'll talk about some upcoming things and then we'll get out of here. So upcoming here, we just mentioned last month, we put out our official call for presenters. I would love to have each and every one of you as a presenter for the High Impact Conference for Educators. We are combining forces. So in the past, we have had the Spark Conference. That was traditionally in August. Last year, it moved to July. And then this year, we are folding that Spark Conference in as a part of the High Impact Conference for Educators, which is what my office runs, the Stark County ESC. We've run that, and we're combining forces. So now it is one supercharged, mega awesome conference for everybody, not necessarily just technology people, but we have a little something for everybody. So we'll have, like I said, wonderful technology sessions, but also stuff that is so incredibly niche. We have people coming in for health classes or to do health things. We had people last year who a lady literally brought in a tub of dirt, and in the art classroom they were talking about what makes quality soil for the school gardens that were out there. And this year we're welcoming in some national speakers to talk about math. So we are affectionately calling it Mathapalooza at the High Impact Conference for Educators. So we're really going to try to drive as many people to that as possible too. So in the speaker notes, I have linked for you a place that you can submit your own proposal. And then if you just want to visit the conference website to register when the time comes or to share with other people, that link is there also. It's just bit.ly/summerheis. Okay. Other things, I mentioned that a moment ago. The OETC conference is next week. Is anybody going to that?
I'll be there.
All right, cool, Katie. I'll look for you. Are you going all 3 days?
Yep.
Cool. Very cool. Are you presenting at all?
No.
No? There's always next year. There's always next year. So this is Ohio's like premier conference. There's going to be all kinds of people down there talking about all kinds of wonderful and amazing things. So if you are going, or if you have friends who are going, make sure that they stop me if you see me, and I'd love to see you and say hi in person. Okay. Other things that are coming, Neotech is a hybrid conference. This is open and free to everybody. It's run by the ITC to the north, NeoNet. This is physically going to be taking place in Cuyahoga Falls at their office, but it is open to anyone who would like to join in streaming. They have tons of wonderful sessions every single year by local channels. I think 3 sessions that I'm going to be doing there, as well as, like I said, a whole host of wonderful people. So if you don't necessarily have the means to leave your district and to go physically, it is a really wonderful hybrid experience as well. So hopefully you can make some of those. Every month, the 3rd Wednesday of each month, I host a Leading for Learning meeting with some of my friends from around the state. So these are not only like technology teachers and coaches and tech directors who are within district, but we also pull in like all of our major technology branches throughout the state too. So you'll see people from DEW and Learn21 and Ohio COSN and ISTE and every other technology group that you can think of. We get together on the 3rd Wednesday of every month and just share and talk about the important things that we're seeing, and just trying to help everybody as best as we possibly can. So Rich and Todd and myself, we kind of help facilitate that. You are all welcome to attend those meetings as well. I put the information. The next meeting is actually going to be at OETC. We have a physical meetup. It's our only physical meetup of the year, since so many of our people are going to that conference. So again, that's at 9:15 on the 14th. And then on the 20th, we'll be back virtually again. So that's at 9 a.m. We don't record those. We have a really nice agenda though. So if you are interested in that, I can give you more information on how to basically get on our mailing list so that you're getting the documents that we share out too. Okay. We also have our GEG Ohio meetings. These are led by my good friend Eric Kurtz. The next one coming up is on February 28th. One again, before we meet again, will be March 27th. Those are 1 p.m. virtual meetings, really robust meetings with tons of great information to share. So definitely check out the website there, the GEG Ohio meetings link that I've given. That's going to take you to the document. That's going to take you to the calendar invite, so you can put it on your own calendar to check those out as well. The premise is basically like what's going on with Google, you know, in the last month or in the last however many days since the previous meeting. And it's educators not just from Ohio. The name is kind of a misnomer. We get people from all over the world who tap into those calls because the GEG Ohio community is so strong. So please, by all means, feel free to come out to those as well. All right. There is nothing else. This has been one of my favorite meetings that I think we've ever had. I really appreciate all of you being here and collaborating and sharing and being so willing to talk and discuss things. I will be the last person out of the room, so if you want to stay and ask further questions, I'm more than happy to do that. But otherwise, please make sure that you have done your attendance. Please make sure that you're making a copy of these slides if you would like for them, if you'd like to have a copy of them. And I hope you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful rest of your week. If you're going to OETC, please stop me. And until we see each other I hope you have a wonderful couple months. So we always have our discussion boards too. So make sure that you're throwing those things on there. You don't have to wait until April to collaborate with our friends. Okay. Other than that, I hope you have a great evening, and I will see you all later.